Time for everyone's favorite topic, corporate mergers and acquisitions. Well, not really, but it does end up playing a role in today's topic. Since acquisitions are all the rage right now, with Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers, which is up in the air if that will even go through, and if it does, Netflix wouldn't technically even own Warner Brothers for around a year from now anyway. Today, we are taking a look at Warner Brothers still, where last time they were dealing with another company. It was a merger between them and Discovery. So with shakeups happening from these massive business dealings, we are going to see how that led to so many problems for TV shows, movies, cartoons, and more, with a certain cartoon really getting caught in this slaughtering of productions that really felt unfair and undeserved. And that's not to say that that isn't the case for all of the other productions that this happened to either. Mao Mao, Heroes of Pure Heart, a series that follows Mao Mao, a brave and adventurous cat who, along with his RPG party of friends, help protect the citizens that live within a place called Pure Heart Valley. So if you had any confusion about the show's title, hopefully that clears it all up for you. Mao Mao has a pretty fun story of how it even became a full-on show in the first place. And to see what happens to it in the end because of a business merger, it just doesn't sit right. I want to take a look at how Mao Mao would become a full-on show from what it originally started as, and also talk about the series in general. There's a lot to love about Mao Mao, and it will be easy to see why it deserved better. So what's Mao Mao, Heroes of Pure Heart all about? In the series, we have Mao Mao and his questing buddy Badgerclops crashing into this giant gem known as the Ruby Pure Heart, leaving a giant crack in it, thus making the town that's there, Pure Heart Valley, no longer under the Ruby's protection to keep evil forces from attacking the town and the citizens who live there, the Sweetie Pies, as well as their king, King Snugglemane. From there, of course, things are going to start happening that threaten the town, leaving Mao Mao and Badgerclops to save the town, where Mao Mao specifically finds purpose in wanting to be this legendary warrior who protects this town, especially since he's the reason why they no longer have this protection from the Ruby in the first place. This lands both of them as the official protectors by the decree of the king, and if Mao Mao can make a legendary name for himself by allowing no harm to befall the town and its citizens, he's more in than ever to have this position. These heroic actions capture the eye of a young character named Adorabat, who is mesmerized by Mao Mao, wanting to learn what it takes to be a tough kick-butt heroic warrior by palling around with both of them. Now we get to go on adventures set both within the town itself and in other locations outside of it that do give us time to really learn about who these characters are, because there is much more under the surface that give each of them deeper character development that brings this series from what could have just been your average fun action comedy cartoon into one that follows what the title of the show is, a cartoon filled with pure heart.
Next, it's Mao Mao, Heroes of Pure Heart.
Before Mao Mao would become a full-on series, there is a pretty interesting story that led to its creation. The series was created by Parker Simmons, an animator who would eventually be working at the animation studio Titmouse, which was founded by Chris Prynoski and his wife Shannon. Now, Chris is a familiar name behind series that we've talked about before on the channel like Motor City and Downtown, on top of several other shows that he was heavily involved in like Metalocalypse and Megas XLR. There was a nice friendship that was built between Parker and Chris, which will play a role in Mao Mao getting to become a full-on series. But at Titmouse, they have a special tradition every year called 5-Second Day, where the employees of the company can take the day off work to spend time working on whatever creative ideas they personally have and turn it into a short cartoon, leading to a special screening of all of the cartoons made. It's a cool way for those working at Titmouse to put their ideas and personal passions to paper, so to speak. And during one of the years that Parker was partaking in this tradition, that year being 2014, he would end up creating the short called I Love You, Mao Mao, a short that lasted about a minute and a half in length that would introduce us to the main cast of characters of Mao Mao through the comedic fashion of how they would all speak to one another. The short starts off with this random dancing fella until the screen gets sliced up by Mao Mao himself, changing the vibe to feel all action-packed and edgy. That is, until we hear Badgerclops yell "cut," stuffing his face with snacks and saying in a laid-back tone that this needs to be funny, while Mao Mao in an aggressively defensive tone says it is funny because he's stabbing the character in the eye, with the two of them going back and forth with their contrasting tones, as Badgerclops now wants Mao Mao to say meow, with him of course being resistant to it. Adorabat is there as well, acting as the boom operator, but in also being her upbeat self and wanting to prove that she can do what Mao Mao can do, she starts saying meow non-stop while Mao Mao and Badgerclops continue their argument while also getting annoyed at Adorabat, swatting at her as she comes close to each of them during the argument. This eventually builds up to Mao Mao yelling at her to stop, but ends up saying it as "stop this right meow," causing him to cover his mouth for saying it as the logo of Mao Mao comes up and we hear Badgerclops calling out that he said it and saying that the logo's also cute too, ending the short on Adorabat saying "Mao Mao, I love you," with the last shot being the annoyed green eye of Mao Mao before the screen cuts to black. There is a level of realistic chaos going on between the three characters, showcasing these distinct personalities in such a short amount of time. For Parker, he had already had the idea instilled into him that he's a funny guy who has some good creative ideas, and that he should pitch a show, that he has the ability to do so, that he should do so. While there is a whole story surrounding Parker, from his ideas, what he's worked on, as well as finding the why for working on projects, wanting a passion over just taking a job, Mao Mao would now end up being the catalyst for the opportunity to create a full-on series. I had been asked to pitch a show, and I had been putting an idea together, but I wasn't sure if it had any legs. Fortunately for me, 5 Second Day was a full license to experiment, and I thought, well, maybe I can put something together super quick and see if the characters play. So I grabbed my pals Griff Kimmins and Lika Leong to help do voices, enlisted Doug Vito to help edit it down, and animated a brief skit with help from Brian Pack. It got a lot of laughs and some big awls. People reacting so positively to these characters they knew nothing about just a minute and a half before was all the proof I needed that this idea was worth pursuing. On top of this, Chris Pronowski took great notice of the work itself and the response to it, saying it got a great response from the audience and the characters were crystal clear. The main cast were people who worked at Titmouse, and the characters were loosely, some not so loosely, based on them. They feel real because they are real. There was a chance here for something more to come out of this, with Parker now pitching Chris to help take this concept and turn it into a 7-minute short that would act as a small pilot to properly pitch to a network. Thus, after a lot of hard work, I Love You Mao Mao, Bao Bao's Revenge was created, with the short now being brought to the networks, and in 2017, Mao Mao would officially be picked up as a series by Cartoon Network. The official title of the series would become Mao Mao Heroes of Pure Heart, bringing in the three characters we originally met in the minute-and-a-half short and fleshing them out even further, while keeping that same energy that made the short so enjoyable in the first place. So now, after all this time in his career as an animator and being told that he has something special within him, that he could be working on something that truly is his, something that is filled with passion, here he is with this fully being realized. He believed in himself, believed in the idea he had, and now Mao Mao went from this fun little idea to a fully fleshed out cartoon series that would be on Cartoon Network.
Next, it's Mao Mao, Heroes of Pure Heart.
Now, as a series, how was it? Mao Mao Heroes of Pure Heart would officially premiere in July of 2019, getting an exclusive sneak peek of it on Cartoon Network in June of 2019, first to get people excited for this new series and a way to advertise the CN app. Immediately, it was clear that this show had a lot of love put into it. From a visual standpoint, not only was there a nice blend of cute animals and creatures mixed with some dynamic action, but there was also this level of detail that filled in the backgrounds of the show. Whether time was spent within the town itself or out in other places in the world of the show, every location popped with a level of detail that gave so much character to these places. The world of the show itself felt like its own character, it felt lived in, it felt real, and it aided in having this expansive world building that gives you these fantastical elements that can blend with something that could easily feel misplaced in this world like technology and somehow make it feel natural. These types of inspirations and ideas came from his and his crew's love of Super Nintendo video games, anime, and manga, but most importantly, from those mediums that connects them all together was the late great Akira Toriyama. We were inspired by the world of Akira Toriyama, which has a lot of goofball action comedy. His role-playing video game Chrono Trigger has robots and swordsmen, and caveman, and flying vehicles. Dragon Ball and Dr. Slump totally informed our childhoods. While Mao Mao as a character, as well as some other aspects of the show, may have had their influence come from stuff like Batman the Animated Series, Akira Toriyama's iconic designs that can blend in fantasy, technology, like dragons, cars, space travel, and so much more, really shaped how Mao Mao could do similar things without it feeling weird to see all of these drastically different ideas come together and make sense. There wasn't this confusing clashing of how can this piece of technology exist in a world where things are still done in a certain way that would fundamentally be changed with the existence of said technology. It's not an easy feat to accomplish, let alone have the ability to just go for it and create what makes sense to you and the team as creatives, as you hope that it translates well to the audience just like Akira Toriyama's work did for them. Parker really put himself into the show. No, like, I mean literally. He's the voice of Mao Mao. And aside from the incredible performance he gives as the character, you can feel the influence of Parker as a person, who he is, the exploration of his own identity, all baked into who Mao Mao is. Mao Mao isn't just this silly, heroic cat who is the way he is for the sake of it. There's a level of validation in praise that he seeks. He wants to be seen. He wants someone to be proud of him, giving us this level of depth to the character that gets explored throughout the series, especially when it comes to involving Mao Mao's father and parts of his childhood, getting to really understand how he is the way he is now and how he sees someone like his father, even when certain views are shattered, to then understand that character in a new light. Sure, you have your action, you have your comedy, you get a nice healthy mix of it all, but the show doesn't let that solely define the show. In a story about identity, not trying to define what the singular identity of the show is, at least to me, is the takeaway here. All in all, Mao Mao seemed like it had everything figured out, and both audiences and critics were pretty much in agreement that this series was great, and has the power now to be a big staple series for Cartoon Network for the foreseeable future. It came out during a time where a bunch of new shows were coming to Cartoon Network, as a transition from the early and mid-2010s era of cartoons to finding and building what will be the next era. Mao Mao was definitely the big standout series here, having a season 1 that was filled with 40 11-minute long episodes. So really 20 if you put two together to create a full 22-minute time slot, but a solid amount of episodes in general nonetheless. It received award nominations for stuff like production design, editing, directing, and voice acting performances, coming from award shows like the Annie Awards and the Daytime Emmy Awards, even winning one of them as Parker himself would win for outstanding performance in an animated program at the 2021 Daytime Emmys. Now, when the world did the whole thing where everyone was inside for a long period of time, which has now ruined the perception of time for many in general because of how is it nearly 2026 while I'm writing this? Sorry. The end of the first season of Mao Mao would premiere on Cartoon Network on July 17th, 2020. And not even a week later, during Comic-Con at Home on July 23rd, 2020, an official announcement for season 2 of the show was confirmed to already be in production, as during the Cartoon Network panel we got to see a preview of what's to come. But even with all of this excitement and hype and seemingly a strong future ahead for Mao Mao still to come, the next 2 years would end up having other plans.
Next, it's Mao Mao, Heroes of Pure Heart.
About a year later, in June of 2021, something happened that would have Parker upset and going online to Twitter to express his frustrations. If you trolled my artist's pages and stole work for Mao Mao Season 2 just for a little internet clout, you're the lowest of scum. I have nothing but contempt for you. If you see this stuff, it's your duty as a fan to do everything in your power to take it down. All this has done is endanger the show and the people who work on it. You have no idea how serious this is. If you couldn't gather what happened based on those tweets, essentially, people were able to gain access to private portfolios from artists who were working on the show, leading to a bunch of Season 2 related artwork, production information, storyboards, model sheets, and more to be taken and shared online. This is extremely bad for any series to go through, as it could lead to genuinely awful consequences for the show itself and the people working on it. It 100% could put the whole series in jeopardy from ever continuing forward. So it makes sense that he would have this reaction and want the aid of fans who don't want the show to be affected to help stop the spread of the leaks. This could have easily been the end of Mao Mao right then and there, but from this, things were mainly quiet for a bit longer. The best way to have supported Mao Mao at this time would have been to watch it on HBO Max to show that there is this interest in the series and that Season 2 should proceed as planned. But throughout 2021 and into 2022, things were getting a bit weird, and a major shakeup would decide the fate of Mao Mao. Cartoon Network was already not airing reruns of the series on TV, as well as allegedly deleting comments from their social media posts that were bringing up the series, asking questions about it, wanting to know more about it, when is it coming back? But Cartoon Network was basically silent on this, and for a major reason. In April of 2022, Warner Brothers would officially merge with Discovery, which had taken nearly a year to fully go through from when they announced the merger in May of 2021. And with it taking that long, it's clear why Cartoon Network was not doing anything to help Mao Mao, or any of their other productions for that matter. From this merger, the CEO of Discovery, David Zaslav, would come in to serve as the CEO and president of what is currently called Warner Brothers Discovery, and a big part of him taking this position was to come in and help the company become more profitable by cutting costs and to make the share prices better for the investors and hopefully just turn a profit for the company. A lot of his actions would also lead to him getting these massive, ridiculous bonuses for doing so, but you know, is saving money and cutting costs, am I right? Anyway, the main way he would do this was to either write off shows and movies for tax purposes, or just shelve projects indefinitely. I am sure over the last few years you've heard about several projects getting cancelled and thrown away, as well as some, luckily enough, getting saved. Now, most of those more publicized projects were more directly related to the film side of things, with stuff like the Batgirl movie that was, quote, practically finished, getting scrapped, and stuff like The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, and Coyote vs. Acme that both ended up getting saved thanks to a big enough want from fans sparking Ketchup Entertainment to purchase them from Warner Brothers Discovery to stop them from being thrown away. What really got hurt here from all of this though was Cartoon Network, and once HBO Max would turn into just Max, which by the way was so stupid that they finally fixed their mistake and have reverted the name back to HBO Max literally just this year, but so many programs would be removed. Once again, either for tax write-offs or for shelving purposes, leading to Mao Mao being hit by this and taken off the platform. So the only main way you could even watch and support the series was now gone. Following this, any branding or advertisement of Mao Mao on anything Cartoon Network related like their website, their social media, and of course anything lingering on the channel itself were all removed as well. Now, even though the fate of the series being removed and hidden as well as the production of season 2 not continuing forward is sad, the only bit of good, or hope rather, is that the series is technically not cancelled or deleted forever for tax purposes. It instead is just shelved, which yes, is still awful and most likely nothing will come of it, but there's that thin window of possibility that lingers because of it. As of right now, Parker has no clue what the actual fate of the show is. There could or could not be a future for it. There are plenty of Cartoon Network shows that were now in this purgatory shelved state because of the merger that have little to no comments about what their fate actually may be, regardless of how loud the fans have been for wanting these shows to come back or something to be done about them. Much like how there is when there is a shift in leadership at a network, a bunch of projects get canceled and what the network wants usually changes based on these strategies. This merger would essentially serve as the same thing, only now it was all the parent company making changes, not just a network underneath the larger parent company.
Next, it's Mao Mao, Heroes of Pure Heart.
Cartoon Network should have been better to the series before all of this happened. There should have been more push to recognize that this show clearly has that potential to be something big for the network, but instead it doesn't align with the network's future strategies, which seem to rely solely on existing IP and continue on banking on what is a safe option. And as for Warner Brothers Discovery, well, that's a whole other mess that's only going to get messier thanks to whatever is going to happen with the deal of Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers, which hey, it could fall through, Paramount still fighting to get it, but I'm sure either way, it'll still just be a giant hairball of a mess. Now to wash down that hairball, you gotta get some gamer subs. If you go to the link down below or just use my code FRINGE at checkout, you're going to save 10% off your order, not just once, not twice, not even just 3 times, every time you place an order. You need a little bit of that sugar-free energy? Boom, right here. You got your regular type of gamer subs. But if you like a little bit of caffeine-free, they do have those options as well. All of that and more is over at Gamer Subs, and not only that, if you've never tried it and you want to give it a shot, head over to their website right now. You can actually get a free sample pack sent directly to you at no cost. You don't even put your credit card in, they'll just send it directly to you. All you have to do is add them to your cart and use my code FRINGE, and boom, they're yours. Every time that you do use code FRINGE, it does directly support the channel, so directly supporting Gamer Subs directly supports me. So thank you to everyone who does use my code FRINGE. It means a lot to me and I appreciate the support. Now let's get back to talking about a cat, a bat, and a badger. Mao Mao Heroes of Pure Heart is a series that should not have had the fate it did. Aside from the critics giving the series high praise, the audience audience enjoyed it greatly. There was a lot of excitement for season 2 of the series, so much so that we unfortunately saw what happened in 2021 with the leaks, but beyond that, there was just so much that felt left to explore. There are secrets and mysteries to the Ruby Pure Heart itself, as it seemingly gives off this protection, but we've seen it then bestow this evil dictator-like power onto Adorabat, bringing into question the truth about this gem, what it can do and what purposes may it really serve. There was a season 2 of Mao Mao in the works. There was so much left to explore about this world and its characters. It was supposed to continue, and unfortunately, I don't think it will see the light of day, despite how much work on season 2 had been done or not. And one of the true ways to support the show, in the efforts of hopefully getting the higher-ups to see that there is want for more Mao Mao, was taken away, and that was viewing it on HBO Max, or going back to HBO Max, whatever it's called now. If it was on there and there was high viewership, people truly supporting it, then maybe things would be different. Maybe there would be a chance for things to be different. But now with our only option just saying we want something versus showing that we want something, because we literally can't do that, hurts the chances of Mao Mao coming back. Over the last few years, there has definitely been a following for the series growing stronger, and I encourage more and more people to find ways to check out this series. The characters are great, they feel real, the look of the show is gorgeous, the action is fun and dynamic, and the unique solutions to the situations Mao Mao and company get into are genuinely clever and entertaining. In only 11 minutes per episode, it combines all of this with the occasional emotional depth that builds a real attachment for you to these characters and their stories. Because of its unfortunate fate, I don't see Mao Mao being able to have a chance to come back, but I just hope that I'm wrong, and I hope that Parker in general gets a chance to create another project in the future, because when he created something and believed in it, he created something special and meaningful, and I'll be right there right away to support that next vision. Did you ever get the chance to check out Mao Mao Heroes of Pure Heart? Were you a fan of this series and wanted to see more from it? Let me know all of that and more in the comments down below. Thank you to my Patreon members who help support these videos getting made. It means the world to me and I appreciate you all so much. Consider becoming a member for $5 a month to help support these videos getting made and getting access to some fun extras, as well as being involved more directly in the video topics themselves. And of course, thank you all in general for watching. Before you go, make sure to leave a like on this video and to subscribe for more videos like this coming soon, but until then, I've been Jordan Fringe. Later.